John Mayer on RTHK Radio 3, and the song is Love on the Weekend. You're listening to the 123 show with me, Noreen Mir, on this Monday afternoon. Let's turn to our first topic of the week, and that is making friends and also expanding your social circle, and also the possibility of meeting the special someone. And now we've all heard that Hong Kong is quite a difficult place to make friends and to meet people, but just how challenging is it? Well, this afternoon we have Jacqueline, Chia, and also Carol DeCandido, the founders of Mozaic Club, which is an online platform where you can join activities and also events to meet people. I'd like to welcome these two ladies on the 123 show. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes. So I should also mention we are on Facebook Live as well, Noreen Mir on RTHK Radio 3. So aside from listening, you can also meet us three. Well, you can see the back of me. Maybe if I can start off with you first, Carol, tell us a little bit more about Mozaic.
Okay, Mozaic is basically a social club that we developed. Jacqueline and I have been friends for over 17 years, and we just felt that as our social circles have changed and our children leave home, empty nesters, or your social status has changed, then we needed to find new friends, and we wanted to start this platform where people that are mature, maybe the over 40s, can come together, meet, do social activities together or events, or take maybe a travel trip together. Yeah. And so we started the platform back in August of 2017.
How did this idea come about then? Were you sitting together and suddenly this idea popped into your head, Jacqueline?
No, we were actually having a hike, believe it or not. So we always did a lot of chatting. We both have dogs, and we love to hike up to the peak and do a Violet Hill or those type of places. And one day it just sort of struck us that, I was going through a change in my life, and a lot of my friends also have. So different, things affect your social status. And just your circle of friends, like a divorce or a retirement, or like Carol was mentioning. So through these events, you realize that people over 40 actually don't have a place where you can meet other people in the same demographic. Of course, you can meet people at so many different events in Hong Kong and activities, but basically, it would be a mixed bag, which is great. There's no need to be friends only with people in your own age group. But if you really would like to connect with people in your demographic, it's not so easy.
Yeah, so typically, where would people meet other people of a similar demographic than in Hong Kong?
Yeah, well, that was the challenge that we felt. That we wanted to build a platform and offer events that would be interesting to like-minded people, such as, hiking events like Jacqueline mentioned, or we do wine tasting, or we do things like cooking classes, other things.
Yeah, history talks. We've done all sorts of things.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Junk trips, that was another big one.
Yeah, that's very,
just to bring
very
people
Hong Kong
together.
Well. Yeah, because, I opened up this discussion upstairs with my colleagues, and we were just sort of talking about this. It's easier, relatively easier to meet people in your sort of 20s, 30s when you're going for parties or just bumbling around with these sort of events. But as we grow older, it is more challenging to open up yourself to make friends. Is it?
I think so. And I don't think, when you get to a certain age, you go to less parties. You don't really go to Lan Kwai Fong so much anymore. You might go out occasionally with your friends, but it's not like a regular thing anymore. Yeah. And, when you're a university age, you have a lot of events with people in the same age group, and then through work often. But as you start to get to the older age and maybe you retire or you have less work functions, it's really, a lot of people just go to work and they go home, and they don't really socialize outside of that unless they, meet their old friends, but in terms of meeting new friends, where to go, really?
Part of it is also the repetition as well. When you go to the same parties or the same parties when you're in your 20s or 30s, you're bumping into the same people again and again. And there's that common face. Oh, I've seen you. I saw you last week. I saw you the week before. But as we grow older, like you mentioned just now, Jacqueline, people just don't go out as much. So the likelihood of bumping into those people at events are maybe once a year. And those aren't you won't really be like, let's hang out more. As we grow older, are we more shy to say those words? Let's hang out more. Let's exchange contact details.
I almost think people make less of an effort in a way because they get stuck in their
Set in their
routine.
ways,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Oh,
It's a bit more difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's shyness actually, because you're probably less shy in a lot of ways as you mature. You know, you have less social awkwardness in a lot of ways, but
I still have a lot of that. I understand. So Mosaic is one part of the platform. There's another part of the platform which enables people to meet singles as well. Could you tell us more about that?
Right, that's our new business. It's a new partner business called Meet Mosaic, and we just launched that a couple of months ago. And it's basically a discreet matchmaking service for Hong Kong residents that are mature, over the 40s generally.
Yeah.
And we're trying to match people personally. We actually meet them, we have an interview with them, and they fill out a very detailed questionnaire, a personality questionnaire, so we can find the right match. Our motto is more quality, not quantity of people that we help. And we're just starting to build that up now.
yeah. So we basically we have a different business model. We charge a registration fee, but we don't charge a matchmaking fee until we find a match for you. So in that way, like Carol was saying, quality instead of quantity. So we would just choose really matches that we think you would have something in common with, that you could hit it off with. So there's a likelihood that if the chemistry works, which we have no control over, of course, that you might make a match. And otherwise, you at least make a new friend because you have something in common, right? So,
Are you finding that, because we talked a little bit about dating for single matures in Hong Kong as well. Is it harder for men to find a partner, or is it harder for a woman to find a partner from your observations?
Definitely for the women to find the partner, because I think statistically there's probably more women of that age group that are single that are in Hong Kong than the men. Yeah, so definitely difficult.
Yeah, but having said that, there's a lot of men that are really looking as well. I mean, a lot, like Carol said, in actual numbers, they're less than the women, but they're out there. So
They just need to take that first step and join. See us.
Yeah, come see us. We also had Ariana on one time, and we talked about dating as well, that men prefer, generally speaking, to be dating younger women. Are you also finding that in line with the trend as well?
Well, what we do find is that women are the same when they get older. They also would prefer to date younger people. So I think it's probably something for both. Having said that, I think the majority, we did listen to that show, and she was mentioning that most men like to date 22-year-olds. I have to say I haven't met any like that. So no one has requested to date a 22-year-old, but it could be true.
So you mentioned even the women want to date younger as well.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I do think that when women are in their late 50s and in their 60s, they feel like maybe when they need to be with someone that's at their level, I guess, and that's young, and I think maybe in some ways women do age slower than men. So I don't know if it's not an absolute fact. I'm just saying it's an observation.
No, I like that. That's music to my ears. I do feel like women do age better than men as well, because, I don't know, women, we look after ourselves a bit more. I'm not saying men age horribly, even though I've seen some aging horribly, but I'm just saying by and large, women are very much well kept, and that's because we look after ourselves. And I don't know, I'm just putting an excuse out there for my skincare routine. That's the reason. That's the reason why. We're also on Facebook Live as well. Noreen Mir on RTHK Radio 3. You can put your comments to Carol and also Jacqueline as well. A few comments, quite interesting as well. This is on my Facebook. Maybe I can put this to you two. Anita says, I'd like to hear more about this topic, as I find it harder and harder to get trust in regards to finding that special person. What about the issue with trust then?
I think that is true, because nowadays people are using dating apps mostly, but there are a lot of scammers on dating apps, a lot, and especially in the older demographic. I think when you're in your 20s, you don't encounter that as much, but unfortunately, once you're sort of over 40, there's a lot of scammers. So I think for women, I can understand what she's saying. You you don't know who you're speaking to. You don't know, if anything they're telling you is true, and sometimes, they're out for money or for other things. So that it's quite daunting. That was one of the reasons that we wanted to start this matchmaking service.
Face-to-face matchmaking.
Yes. Basically, we meet all of our clients and we check out all of their credentials. So, we see people's Hong Kong ID. We have proof of residence, proof of employment, proof of divorce. So, generally we have great clients, so we don't have any scammers anyway, but we just do this as a blanket coverage for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, and not to mention they are Hong Kong residents. It's not on the dating apps. It could be anywhere in the world, and then you don't know.
Yeah. Speaking to some of your clients, why are they looking for another relationship? Some of the times when I've spoken to some guests, that they say, "Oh, I'm so set in my ways, I'll never find somebody else." But here you are, some clients who are actively looking for love. What are some of their reasons?
Well,
go ahead.
I actually noticed that sometimes when they get a bit older, then they realize that they don't want to be alone. So they've been alone for a few years. They may have gone through that phase, and they're like, well, at this point, I'm going to retire soon. I'm not really happy to do all of my bucket list travels and everything else on my own, right? So...
Yeah, they're looking for somebody like-minded to share that with.
Yeah.
And we actually have a very fun event coming up in April, like 2 evenings in April. We're trying to do a speed dating for the mature people. Yeah. So we'll have at least 8 men and 8 women that will match up, and they'll get 4 minutes each to meet each other and then write down some notes and then move on to the next one. So it'll be good fun. It's in Lang Kwai Fong in Central in the middle of April, and you can see it on our website.
Yeah. What are some tips then do you have for people looking to date when they're a bit older as well? Are there certain topics that they shouldn't talk about? Are there tips that you can share with our listeners as well? Jacqueline? Carol?
Go
yes.
ahead.
There are definitely some topics you shouldn't talk about. Definitely shouldn't talk about your ex. I think that applies to all ages.
Yes.
And maybe not work so much. Most people have an interesting job and a good career, but it can be dreary. It's better to talk about yourself, what makes you unique, maybe your special desires,
what you're passionate about. Yeah. And maybe what's on your bucket list, things that you want to do in the future, and what you like to do in your leisure time.
Yeah.
And then you might find some commonality between the two of you.
It's a fine line as well. How much do you talk about yourself? Do you sell yourself? And then how much do you want to talk about the other person as well? Because you don't want to end up sounding too sort of self-centered. Yeah, exactly. Too desperate, yeah.
It should be an exchange, a conversation, so both people contribute.
Yeah. Let's go to some more comments as well. Cherry writes in to say, after I passed 30, I find it really hard to stay up after 1 a.m. So it's the end of fun times, and most people I know either go to bed at 10 or is available after 10. So it's really difficult to go out with them, as I'm on the side that is only available after 10 p.m. But then I feel too tired to go out. And also, she says, weekends are for families as well, and I miss my kids' free days. That thought comes from Cherry. That sort of echoes your point. Yeah. Also, that that people are too tired to go out for parties, to meet people that way as well. Marzia writes and says, yes, it feels a bit too hard, to be honest. And she says, I think possibly because I'm meeting less people due to being in the same circles and not necessarily branching out, and less new people joining those activities I'm engaged with. It goes back to that point. Have you seen sort of people are sort of stuck in the routine, in the mundane activities as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's another reason why we started the platform, because honestly, all of our members didn't know each other before they joined, and now they are meeting and having a good time and enjoying coming to the activities. Yeah.
As well as what sort of how do you plan what activities that are interesting for these people then? Do you sort of ask them, what is it that you're interested in?
Yeah, well, we always ask for feedback on the website. Not that we get a lot of it, but then we come up with things that we would like to do, let's say. So then we're passionate about putting it together and then making sure that it goes off well. and we get some very good reviews for the ones we have. And they're generally for smaller groups of people, 10 to 12. We don't go for the big 50 people parties and stuff. So then it's more intimate that you can meet and you can have a conversation with somebody else there.
I couldn't agree with you more, Carol. It's true, because sometimes when you go to events or networking events, you're just so overwhelmed with so many people. It's not because I don't want to meet people, but I end up meeting 20 people, but I actually know very little about, say, the 15 people I've spoken to at these events. And quite oftentimes, like you said, it is the quality rather than the quantity. Nicholas also writes in, by the way, we are on Facebook Live, Noreen Mir on RTHK Radio 3. Nicholas writes in to say he doesn't think it's necessarily harder, which is interesting from a guy's perspective, but he says, I think you hit an age or a point where you may have hit your cap of friends and no longer interested in making close friends unless the individual is incredibly interesting. Habits also get formed, and you may no longer be interested in trying new activities that would spark relationships. What about his point?
I agree with him. I think that is what happens. But what we've noticed is that a lot of people have changes in their life. And when the changes come around, like if you're divorced, or your children leave home, or maybe your partner is working in another country, or, you retire, so you're not seeing your colleagues anymore, suddenly you have the need again because, things have changed. Suddenly you need to make new friends. I think it's originated in need more than desire at our age. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm nodding in agreement because Karen, one of my co-hosts for the Agenda Cafe on Fridays, is that she's mentioned that some of her friends have reached this stage where they are divorcing, so they split up their friends, and sometimes if a set of friends goes with one particular ex-partner, then it's up to you to make new friends in Hong Kong, and sometimes it can be painful, but it also is a new experience as well. It is about opening yourself up to the possibilities and that trust as well. Is it difficult? Have you spoken to people in that situation where they feel like, my ex-husband has inherited all our friends, so now I have to make new friends? And what are the challenges that these ladies face?
Yeah, absolutely. We see that. And our Mosaic Club, we open it to anybody, married, single, doesn't matter. But honestly, it's mostly single people that join, looking to make new friends. Yes. And that's what inspired us to start the other business for Meet Mosaic. Yeah. Definitely difficult.
It is difficult. And I think people they really have to put themselves out of their comfort zone when you are divorced. So most of the people that are the most energetic and adventurous are people that have been in that situation, because it's like, the chapter of your old life has closed and now you have to open a new chapter. So everything is new. I mean, I'm also divorced, so I can speak from experience. So you try a lot more new things. Yeah.
Did you feel sort of invigorated to find new friends? Did you have that urge to be like, okay, right, it's a new start, I'm going to make new friends? Or did you face that initial step of, oh no, I've got to make new friends now?
Well, for me, actually, I had a good core group of friends, and with my ex and I, we didn't have that problem with splitting our friends. We're quite amicable, so it's a slightly different situation. But in other ways, I had to go out of my comfort zone. I mean, starting the business and doing new things. So I think, there's lots of different, and I'm meeting so many new people. I am making a lot of new friends through business and through the club as well.
You've met me.
And exactly.
And maybe you guys can also start a Mosaic Mum as well.
Exactly.
We can branch out.
Because I was saying to Jacqueline and Carol that, having transitioned into motherhood, I found it difficult to make friends in that area, because some of my friends, they don't have children. I'm in that in-between age where people are having children a lot later. So, and it is difficult, especially I feel like in Hong Kong there's that sort of competitive, you didn't sign your child up for this play group. I'm like, well, no. And I don't know. But
that increases. It gets worse as they grow up, believe me.
Oh, no. Very competitive.
But I can still find you on your club as well, make friends in this way as well. Jacqueline, Carol, a pleasure to meet you both today. Can you share your website and social media with our listeners so that if they're interested, they can also find you there to make new friends and
certainly.
Meet people?
We're more than happy to, Maureen. Thank you. It's Mosaic, Mozaic Club at com.hk. And then Meet Mosaic is our discrete matchmaking service. Meet Mosaic with a Z.
Excellent.
Yep.
And are you on Facebook as well?
Yeah.
We are. We have 2 Facebook pages.
Yeah, right. At Mosaic Club and at Meet Mosaic, the at sign.
The same.
And we're on Instagram and LinkedIn too. We're everywhere.
Yes, we're everywhere. We try to have a very strong presence on social media. We also have articles that we post regularly as well, and we welcome an engaged community, hopefully, on the Facebook pages. So
yeah. Thank you so much, ladies, and I look forward to having you back on another time. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Yes,
we really
thank you for having us.
I really enjoyed it too. Thank you.
Your voice. Read more and listen more in something that they're really interested in, and you will find it less challenging in